You're listening to the Master Passive Income Podcast Network. Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name's Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you get financial independence, quit that job, that just overbroke job by investing in real estate so you never ever have to work a job again. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking all about rental arbitrage and co-hosting and why that might not be the best way for you to make money and how you can do it even better. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here's your host, Dustin Heiner.
What's up? What's up? Super blessed as always to have you here with me on the show. Now, I am super excited about something new that I've been working on here at Master Passive Income. I got to let you in on this and give you a chance to take part in everything that we are doing to make you an even better investor. See, now at Master Passive Income, we do buy and hold residential, 4 units and below. Been doing this since 2006. Started investing 2015, started the podcast and blog and everything. Well, I love the residential, 4 units and below. You know, long-term where you rent it out 12 months, a lease, and then you also have midterm, 30, 60, and 90-day stays where people come and rent the place for that long. You could even do short-term with obviously Airbnb, VRBO, things like that where it's, you know, say 1 night, 2 nights, 5 nights. But there's also a way where you can do co-living, where you're doing like a communal living place. That's another way that we make money with our residential properties. Well, with all of these ways to invest, we end at 4 units. Because you can get conventional loans that are so amazing, 30-year fixed, where your mortgage stays the same, but your rents go up so you make more money. Now, we are also looking at multifamily or commercial properties, just like playing Monopoly. I grew up playing Monopoly, and when you buy your land, then you build houses. Eventually you get to hotels, which is commercial, which is where you start making a lot more money. And that's what we need to do in real life. And now Master Passive Income is now coaching the multifamily space, where we're going to talk about underwriting properties, finding 300-unit apartment complexes, making sure that you're doing it right, and you're raising capital as well. Now, not necessarily syndications where that's all you do is you just find a deal and you go raise money. That's what syndication. The syndicators are basically just salesmen. They're selling a deal to another investor to invest their money. Well, we are investors. We're not just syndicators. In fact, what I love to do is bring my deals to you guys to be a part of the deals that I'm currently doing. If I'm not investing my money, which most syndicators, I would say, that's a little broad. Some syndicators don't put their own money in their own deals. They just love getting other people to invest in their deals so they get a part of the action. Well, we're investors. I'm going to be teaching you, and when I say I mean more we. We are going to be teaching you. We have so many new coaches now coming on who are fantastic people, spoke at RubeCon, as well as have done this countless times. Well, we're going to be coaching multifamily, where you can get into apartment complexes. I personally just got into a 355-unit apartment complex, and it was so amazing. Honestly, it was a lot easier than you would imagine. And with that, we have now the Multifamily Wealth Builders Conference. That's right. Just like RubeCon. RubeCon is all types of asset classes. Well, there's so much to go deeper in commercial and multifamily. We need an entire event around this because there's so much more information, much more connections, much more people. If you listened to a couple episodes ago where I talked about the people that you need on your team, like not just team, meaning you build a business, you have property managers work for you. No, when you're doing multifamily and commercial, there are so many moving parts that you need other people around you. Well, I knew that I needed to create another event to help you connect with people that are doing it as well, connecting with experts who are going to teach you how to do that, and with companies that are going to help you in your investing. So it's the Multifamily Wealth Builders Conference. It's going to be in Denver, downtown Denver, Colorado, November 7th through the 9th of 2024. And you're going to be so blown away at all the amazing things that we have going on for you at the Multifamily Wealth Builders Conference. And check the link in the description. It goes to rubcon.com. And you'll have the option to go to the Multifamily Wealth Builders, getting your ticket. And here's the thing, because you're a part of my community, because you're a part of the podcast, I'm going to give you 20% off. And right now, it's the early bird prices for it. Prices are going to go up August 1st. They're already discounted. I'm going to give you even more discount. I'm going to give you 20% off because you listen to the podcast, because you're a part of my community. That's really, I'm literally creating this for you, but I'm obviously inviting everybody else to take part of. We're going to have a couple hundred people there. We're going to have so many speakers, so many great things going on, just like RubeCon. If you have ever been to RubeCon, you're going to know that I put on terrific events that are going to connect you with other people. The Multifamily Wealth Builders Conference is the exact same thing, where you are literally going to be able to grow as a multifamily real estate investor. So use the promo code MPI podcast, all one word, and I'll put it link in the description, MPI podcast, and I will know that you came from my podcast, and I'm going to have 20% off for you. So be there with me. The Multifamily Wealth Builders Conference is going to be at a fantastic hotel in downtown Denver called the Brown Palace. It's super iconic. I mean, it's actually, I think it's one of the oldest hotels in town in downtown Denver, as well as there were many presidents, even the Beatles stayed there. I think Elvis Presley also stayed there. It's an amazing, amazing, beautiful hotel, but you're coming for the connections. You're coming for working with other people and growing your ability to multifamily invest. So I'm super pumped. You need to be here with me, so get your tickets right away before August 1st because the prices are going to go up. This is going to be another annual conference. We're going to have two every single year. The Multifamily Wealth Builders Conference and the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, RubeCon, is going to be April in 2025. So we are super pumped to bring and connect you to so many other awesome real estate investors. Now, in many previous episodes, I've been teaching you how to do multifamily, but here's something that's been going on. I've been on Instagram and doing a lot of trying to, grow the following here on Instagram. I think I'm getting close to 10,000 followers, which is super fun, putting out some really fun, memes as well as good education. But I've also been following some other people and some other real estate investors. They've been talking about this, and I thought this kind of went away. But no, it seems like it's coming back, and it's coming back with a different name. So the name has been around for a little while. It's called rental arbitrage. Arbitrage meaning you basically do not own the house, but you get a lease, a 12-month lease on a house, and then you buy a bunch of furniture, and you put it in there, and then you put it on Airbnb. So the only thing you own is furniture. Now, don't get me wrong, this rental arbitrage is a great way to make money to get in the game of real estate investing. You're not necessarily investing in real estate, but you're dipping your toe in. You have the option to make money and learn more about real estate investing. So that's number one. That's really, really good. But the big downside is, and we're going to get into this, that the downside about rental arbitrage, and now it's called co-hosting, is that you literally only own furniture, but you make money. But that's the thing. When you invest in real estate, you make money in 6 different ways. Well, I'll get into that. Now, with all of this talking about rental arbitrage, co-hosting, where you are not owning anything, you need to think about how you can actually invest in real estate yourself, own the properties to not have to worry about a lease, having a problem with, okay, it's not being rented and I still have to pay this rent that I have to pay. Well, instead, it'd be so much better if you bought your own property. I literally just closed about a month ago on my property near Nashville, Tennessee. It's in Tennessee, but near Nashville, Tennessee. I got it fixed up and furnished and ready to go in like 15 to 20 days. And honestly, short-term rentals are not that hard. Obviously, we'll show you here at Master Passive Income. If you want coaching, we have that for you. We have the group coaching. We have the one-on-one coaching as well. And with that, doing short-term is just like long-term, just a little couple extra moving parts. So if you're thinking, well, let me go ahead and do the rental arbitrage where I don't own the real estate, instead of thinking that way, think, how can I actually buy my first property? It's so much easier than you might think it is. And I want to pause for just one quick second to share with you my Wealth Builders membership, the Real Estate Wealth Builders membership, where I am literally coaching students how to invest in real estate. We have group coaching. We have the Slack community where we're all answering questions. We have multiple coaches. We're all in there to help you to become a successful real estate investor. I want to give you a discount to join the Wealth Builders membership. If you use the promo code podcast, I will literally give you 25% off the join fee and the monthly fee, because I want to get you investing in real estate. So use a promo code podcast and check the link in the description to get in the Wealth Builders membership so you can become successful like all of our other students that have become successful by investing in real estate. Now, when we're talking about rental arbitrage, that might sound like a really weird terminology. If you already know what rental arbitrage is, you know what the word arbitrage basically means. But when I first heard this term, I was like, well, I've been an investor since 2006. What is it, and how can it actually be a bad business model? What is this rental arbitrage stuff? Well, what it comes down to is basically rental arbitrage is where you utilize Airbnb and somebody else's property and you put them together. So here's what it would come out to. Let's say you go to a homeowner like me or a landlord like me, and I have a rental property. I bought it. I've had everything, ready for a tenant. And then somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, Dustin, I like your property here. I would like to sublease it to other people in short-term tenancies." So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to rent it from you at your full asking price. Maybe I might even give you a little bit more money. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to furnish it. I'm going to make sure everything's beautiful. I'm going to get insurance on it. I'm going to take care of everything. It's going to be your investment that I'm going to take care of. And I'm going to utilize Airbnb or VRBO or Craigslist or whatever it might be to do short-term tenants. Now, this would not necessarily be like something where you're doing long-term where they're like a month, 2 months long. It's more like somebody staying there for 1 day or 2 days. So you're not necessarily subleasing it. You are basically just renting it out for that night. And so that's rental arbitrage. You're using somebody else's asset, signing a lease, and then putting furniture in there, making it look pretty, but nice decorations and furnishings, even put like little K-cups or, the coffee cup stuff, and make it so like it's a bed and breakfast. And then you collect the rents because you're bringing people in from Airbnb, VRBO. Now, I would absolutely say doing short-term rentals is amazing. You make so much more money renting out the property per day as opposed to per month. So just like hotels, they make so much more money because they rent it out by 1, 2, 3 days, maybe even a week span at a time, but they don't do like 3 months or 4 months. So that usually they have not like the rates are usually, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And so you have to pay per day as opposed to per month. Now, the great thing about Airbnb is if you were, like, I'll just take you my house that I live in. If I were to rent it out per month, it'd be about $1,500, maybe $1,600 per month in a long-term tenant. It's not bad. But if I did an Airbnb and did, furnished it out, made sure it looked pretty and all that good stuff, and then rented it out on Airbnb or put it on our Airbnb for a short-term rental, if I did that, then I could probably get maybe $100 a night. Well, let's just say there's 30 nights in the entire month or 30 days in the entire month. That could potentially be $3,000 as opposed to $1,600. Now, what's interesting, obviously, you're going to have fluctuations in how much you're going to be able to get. Sometimes it's not going to be rented and all that sort of stuff. But let's just say, let's cut it down, maybe 2/3 of that. Let's say you make $2,000 instead of $1,500 or $1,600. You're making more money. Now, there's a little bit more overhead and things like that. So I'm not talking about the short-term versus long-term tenants and properties like that. I have a whole other podcast I've done on that. I think it's like episode 46 or something like that. Talk all about the pros and cons of both. So we're not getting into that necessarily, but there are so many great things about both. They're both really, really good. But rental arbitrage is something that's totally different. Now, here's the way that you make money on or with rental arbitrage. You're basically renting out per day, and then your cost is obviously furniture and all that sort of stuff, but you're paying the lease that you signed with the current owner. And so you're going to make the difference because you're the one bringing people in. It's basically you're starting a business, which is a good thing. Now, here's the great thing about this. You're making money on top of how much you're spending for your expenses, like your lease and everything else that you're going to have to pay, because you're going to have to pay for electricity, you're going to have to pay for garbage and sewer. You're going to have to pay everything as if you were a normal tenant. Normal tenants pay for those normal things. So you're going to have to make sure you account for those. Now, what you do is you actually get people from Airbnb coming in. Now, the downside is you have so many other reasons why, and not to mention you're leaving money on the table. So when you're doing rental arbitrage, you're basically just making passive income. And I love passive income. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love passive income. That's the way I and my family are able to live. I put food on the table. We travel the world. We do all the things that we want to do because of passive income. But that's only one way that you make money with rental arbitrage. See, when you own rental properties, a single family home or multifamily or short-term or long-term, you make money in 6 different ways. I'll quickly go over them. Number 1 is the passive income, like we just talked about. You make money in passive income. Every single month, you make money from a property. Remember, I'm setting aside rental arbitrage because you only make money one way, passive income, which is good, but you only make it one way. I'm talking about owning the property. So you get passive income, which is absolutely fantastic. Another one, you get equity capture. Equity capture is basically if you buy a house, and we as investors, we negotiate, we get the price down. When you buy the house, you buy it for less than it's worth. So let's say it's worth $120,000. You put an offer in for $95,000, you work your way up. Eventually you buy it for $100,000. If it's worth $120,000, you've literally pocketed $20,000 in equity as you bought the property. So right then and there, you made $20,000. So remember, passive income, monthly passive income every single month, that's money coming in your pocket. You get equity capture. Another one is forced appreciation. Now, forced appreciation would be, let's say it's worth 120 as it sits. But hey, I could paint the walls, I can, do the flooring, I could paint the outside, I can make, the flower beds look good. Let's say you spend $5,000 on the entire property. It's worth 120. You bought it for $100,000, and for $5,000 you actually put into the property, it makes the property worth $140,000. It brought up the value $20,000 because it's worth more. It's valuable. People want to buy it or would pay for it more, but it only cost you $5,000. That's an increase in $15,000. So not only equity capture of $20,000, you also get the forced appreciation of $15,000 on top of that. So that's another way. Another great way is just even market appreciation in general. We know prices just keep going up. It'll just keep going up over and over again. And that's just how markets does with inflation, the way the economy moves and all that sort of stuff. So we are always going to be making money. Another great way is taxes and how you can actually have 1031 exchange, which is a whole nother thing. I have a whole article written on 1031 exchange. I should be able to put those in the description. So hopefully you look for those. And so you have the 1031 exchange. You also set up a business and you have expenses that you can write off for your profits, which you can with rental arbitrage. I completely understand that because you're setting up a business, but there's so many more tax advantages, like even using your 401k or your IRA to buy rental properties. We've even done that, showed so many people. All my students know how to do that. And so that's another great way. But here's the sixth way. One of my favorites, next to passive income, which I love passive income. I love that my tenants are the ones that are paying my mortgage. Not only that, get this, I don't pay my taxes. I don't pay my insurance. I don't pay my property manager. I don't pay the rehab. I don't pay utilities. I don't pay any of that stuff. I even don't pay my mortgage, the principal and the interest. My tenants do. My tenants pay for every bit of that. And so what they do is they pay me in the form of rent. Let's say I have a total of expenses of $1,200 a month. Well, if I rent the property for $1,500 a month, that's $300 that goes into my pocket to pay for food, for electricity, for my family and all that sort of stuff. And so if you have one property making you, let's just round it down just a little, because I say the bare minimum for all my students, we want to find properties for $250 or more that goes into our pocket. $250 or more going into our pocket is basically $3,000 a year. Imagine your boss came to you, hey, you're doing such a great job. I want to give you a $3,000 a year raise. You'd say, absolutely, I'll take that. Well, imagine this. If you bought a property that you can make $300 or $3,000 a year more, that's another great benefit is you're actually making that passive income. So when you look at tenants paying all your expenses, tenants paying for your expenses and putting money into your pocket. If you buy that house for $100,000, let's say you buy a house with an FHA loan, you live in it for a year, fixing it up and getting it ready, you put 3.5% down. That's $3,500. That's all you would need to put down to buy this property. 3.5% down, $3,500. Now you owe $96,500. Hopefully the math is kind of working out. So the down payment's $3,500 and your balance that you're going to owe in principal is $96,500 on top of the interest that you're going to have to pay to the mortgage company, to the bank. Now, when you're doing that, you're realizing that I am not paying that mortgage, that interest, that the insurance, the property management fees, the principal, all that stuff, I'm not paying it. So even though $3,500 came out of your pocket, the $96,500 and all the interest is paid for by the tenants. I have properties now that have been paid off by the tenants. Like I bought the property, tenants kept paying me rents, and then eventually paid off those properties because the tenants paid them off. I didn't do it. And everything that we're talking about right now with rental properties, I want to show you exactly how to do that. It's not hard, not as hard as you might think. I'm going to give you my free course. If you look in the description, if you click on the link in the description, it's masterpassiveincome.com/free course. If you do that, I will send you my free course that's going to show you how to do long-term rental properties where you own the asset. I'm going to show you how to find properties, how to fund properties, how to make sure you get other people to do the work for you, how to make sure that you're covering all your bases with the income and expenses and everything. I'll show you everything about the business. You can absolutely do that. I'm going to even give you an opportunity. If you're listening to this, text the word rental to 33777. Text the word rental to 33777 and I will get you my free real estate investing course. Let's get back to rental arbitrage because I want you to be aware that right now, obviously you have the experience of the coronavirus, of COVID-19. People are literally not traveling, which makes it really, really rough for short-term rental properties. But that's just one, because hopefully you can then turn around the short-term rental property. Remember, short-term rental property, rental arbitrage, they're different. They're the same thing in a sense, but when I talk about short-term rental property, this one, that's where you own the property. Instead of doing long-term, you're doing a short-term rental, but you own it. When I say rental arbitrage, that is specifically where you go to a landlord like me and say, hey, I want to rent your property, and I will put furniture in there, and I'm going to use Airbnb to get people in there and pay me per month or per night, and then I will pay you your lease. Remember, that's rental arbitrage. This is what I want you to be very, very careful of, because I would say back in 2014, 2015, this started coming out as something that people were doing as a business model. Now, let's take a step back. In 2008, Airbnb really started. Do you remember what happened in 2008? Well, it was a really bad time for the economy. It had just crashed. Like, it was literally crashing. I personally started investing in 2006, 2007, and 2008. And as I've been investing since then, and I still own those properties from back then, I've made money in every single market, whether it went up, whether it went down, or whether it went to the side. I made money over and over again. And the reason why, like I said, I make $250 or more on every single property. That's $3,000 a year from every single property. And then if you have 10 properties, that's $30,000. If you have 20 properties, that's $60,000 a year. Man, it just scales so much better. But when you have rental arbitrage, remember, that's where you have Airbnb and you get a landlord and you're the middleman. There's so many issues that come up in my mind. And I'll be honest, I'll be completely honest. Back in 2016, I was still building my business. I hadn't quit my job yet. And I started looking into this rental arbitrage type stuff. 2017 is really started getting it. Maybe 2018, I was really like, I might want to do this for a business model. And because I don't have to have so much cash outlay, there's so many reasons. Anyways, I looked into it. And after I looked at the whole business model, I realized this is not for me. Also, with the 6 ways that you make money in real estate, you're not going to make only but one of those. On top of that, there are so many issues. So with Airbnb starting at the bottom of the market, it's crusting over the market. Let's go this way, crusting over, and it started crashing. Airbnb started in 2008, right after the crash. And with Airbnb starting right after the crash, we've only seen with Airbnb a rise from 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 2020 now, 2021, it's just been rising, rising, rising. And so with rental arbitrage, it only works when it's a good market. I'm going to be straightforward and tell you that. This is my opinion. My business model has worked in up, down, or sideways market. But if you have rental arbitrage, if people are not traveling, if people don't, number one, if it's a recession, people don't have money to travel, they're not going to travel. Number two, if there's a pandemic where the governments are literally shutting you down, you cannot travel, your places are not going to be rented. There are so many things that happen in a down market that stop the short-term travel and the people on vacation and people using Airbnb that you're going to look at, oh my goodness, I'm actually not going to be able to fill these homes. I have a property that needs to be rented and I have my expenses that I got to pay, but people are canceling left and right. So let's go through the many different problems with rental arbitrage. Rental arbitrage and really even short-term rental properties only work when people are traveling, when they have enough money to actually go somewhere and spend some time in another place. If there is no money floating around, like if it's a down market, if you look back in 2008, 2009, 2010, it was literally I'll go this way. It's literally going down, 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 down. And then 2009, it started flattening out. 2010 definitely bottomed out. And then since 2010, it's been going back up. It took about a year for it to maybe 2 years to go all the way down, but then it goes back up. And as it goes back up, people start to travel, people start to move around. But from late 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, very few people were traveling. There was very few people moving around. I remember going through this entire recession back in 2008 and 2009 and 2010, people weren't doing much. And so if you have a rental arbitrage, even a short-term rental property, but let's just go with a rental arbitrage. You still have your expenses you got to pay. You have to pay these things. Now, again, I know that with long-term rental properties, if you own properties, you have expenses. But here's a big thing. You have so much more expenses with rental arbitrage. So if people are not traveling, you're not going to fill your properties, just like regular short-term rental properties, even if you own it. That's a downside. I personally love long-term tenants. I touched the idea of going to Airbnb, but I just loved having stable money coming in, people not moving, not having very many expenses because they're not moving out. I don't need to replace the carpet until it's really destroyed or they're moving out. Or I don't need to paint the house until it's actually, they move out or it really needs to be painted, regular normal wear and tear. There's so much less expenses with a long-term rental property as opposed to a short-term, especially a rental arbitrage. So number one, if people aren't traveling, if there's not enough money in the markets and people are not doing anything, that's going to be very, very detrimental. Another big one that I'm seeing coming is, and it's been coming and it will come even bigger and bigger, hotels. Hotels hate Airbnb and VRBO and whatever sites would be popping up. They hate those things because they're eating into their market. It's just like the taxi cabs hating Uber and Lyft, hating those because they're literally taking their business. They had a monopoly on personal travel from car to car or place to place in a car. They had a monopoly, but enter Airbnb or Uber and Lyft, enter those, and it disrupts the entire market. Hotels hate Airbnb. They are pushing so hard, and they have so much money to do this. They're pushing so hard to get legislation and regulation so that you cannot have an Airbnb. You go to major cities, San Diego, San Francisco, and all them, they're already talking about or have already enacted laws that are going to keep you from doing that, from doing Airbnb, or they're also going to tax you even more. You're going to have so many taxes on top of that to get you to pay hotel rates and all that sort of stuff, taxes. They're going to be doing this so that it's now going to be cost effective or not cost effective anymore to have these short-term rental properties. So hotels hate you. They want you out of business because you're taking their customers. You're bringing their prices down, and they've got loads of money, and they got lobbyists that would actually petition or lobby lawmakers to actually change laws so you cannot do rental arbitrage or Airbnb. So that's a big one, is legislation. So be watching out for that. If you are considering rental arbitrage or short-term rental properties, seriously consider the laws and read the laws to make sure that you're not going to be stuck. Like, oh man, I thought I was going to be able to do short-term rental property. It's too expensive to do long-term because I'm not going to make enough money. But oh man, the government says I can't do it. So be very, very wary of that. And as I've already said, you only make money in one way. Out of the 6 different ways that you make money owning rental property, if you own the rental property, the tangible asset, the land and the improvements on that property, you own an asset because it makes you money. The bad thing about rental arbitrage is you own nothing other than the furniture and the plates. I mean, but that's a depreciating item. Let's say you buy a bed. Well, if you buy it brand new, literally the next day or the next week, it's worth 20% less, 30% less. Nobody's going to pay full price for that. In fact, my kids were bouncing on their bunk beds and they got spanked for this. They got bouncing on it and they broke the bunk bed. And so the bunk bed was gone. And so I literally needed to sell the mattress. Well, I bought the mattress for like $200. It's a really nice, foam cushion mattress. I sold it for like $75. That's the best I could sell it for. I think it was only like a year old. So it wasn't that bad. It was really nice. They barely slept on it. They just more bounced on it. So you're going to own furniture. You're not going to own an asset. An asset makes you money. And so if it did come down to where you're realizing, oh my goodness, I'm not able to rent it, or people are not traveling, or whatever it might be, and you're having trouble, you don't own the property. You literally have like depreciating items like beds, plates, Keurigs, and stuff like that. The only thing you can do is try to sell those for a loss. So you don't own anything when you have rental arbitrage. That's something that as investors, we own assets. The wealthy own assets. There's never been a greater way to accumulate wealth. In fact, it was Dale Carnegie who said that 90% of all millionaires became so through owning real estate. Real estate is going to be around forever. It started way back when the earth was first created to now. And, things come and go. Airbnb will come and go. You had the, Industrial Revolution that came and went, or the Middle Ages that came and went. Like, things come and go. But what's always been constant is the land, the real estate, the stuff that's there. If you own that, you own an asset. You own and you have the ability to actually utilize that asset. So on top of that, you are able to refinance. You're able to pay off loans. You're able to do home equity line of credits to build your business. I've personally borrowed so much money out of my personal residence and my rental properties, and I did the BRRRR method, the BRRRR method. I think that's what it is. It's the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and then repeat that process. Hopefully I'll put in the description another article and video that I did all on the BRRRR method. But I've done that so many times where I had equities, I owe $100,000, it's worth $200,000. I borrowed maybe, let's say $70,000. Pulled that $70,000 and I bought rental properties with it. And I bought them with loans, and then my tenants paid off those loans. So that's the great thing, is owning assets gives you so many options. When you have a rental arbitrage business, you own just depreciating liabilities. They're not even assets anymore. And let's get on to the next big problem. You are most likely personally, but also you could have signed with a lease, but more than likely you are on there as well. The lease with a LLC, or putting your company's name instead of your own personal name. You have long-term leases with these properties. Hopefully, if you've done the rental arbitrage right, you've done it more than just one year. You've signed like a 3-year lease. Well, what's going to happen if there's another COVID-19, there's COVID-20 or 28 or whatever it might be, and people are not traveling? You're still stuck with that lease. Now, I know you're stuck with a mortgage, but with that lease and everything else, you have so many more expenses on top of that, and you don't have tenants paying that because they're not going to be renting it out. They're not going to be using Airbnb because they're not going anywhere. They literally cannot go anywhere. As I'm recording this literally right now, we're in the middle of the 15-day that President Trump said, hey, everybody, we're going to lock down for 15 days. I'm recording this in the middle of this 15 days. And what I'm telling you is that if nobody's traveling, you have expenses still, but you don't have the income. For my tenants, my long-term tenants in a property that I own, they're still paying me rent. Now, I know some people say, well, what if they lose their job, and what if? I'm like, yeah, that's another what if I'm going to have to contend with, but I'm going to forego it. I'm going to say not remove it or abate it or get rid of the rent, but my long-term tenants who are in there, if they're having a trouble for 1 or 2 months to get back on their feet, I'm going to say, hey, we're going to defer those, but you're going to have to make those up. Hopefully, we're not going to have to evict. I hope everything works out really, really well, but I'm not going to give up. I have to still pay my mortgage, and so we're going to make that up. But because I have so little, like your lease is going to be, let's say your lease is $1,500 a month. Well, your mortgage on a lease, or my mortgage on a $1,500 a month, is only $800. So that's a big difference. That is $700 extra come out of your pocket to go to a lease because you're still paying the landlord. So you're on hook for these leases. Now, let's just say you have one rental arbitrage property that is going to put you like, oh my goodness, I have a lease. I have to make sure these leases are paid, the electricity, the utilities, and all that stuff is paid. As a homeowner that has long-term tenants, I don't worry about that because the tenants pay for the electricity, the sewer, the tenants pay for all that. But if you're a rental arbitrage with one property, okay, you might be able to float that. It might be okay. But let's say you were really working hard. You're a go-getter. You took the courses. You did everything for rental arbitrage told you to do. And you're going to be a millionaire. You're going to have so much money. You have 10 rental arbitrage units or locations. You have 20 or 30 or 40. So the people right now doing rental arbitrage in this COVID-19 issue, they are really hurting because they know they're going to have to pay these leases and they know they're going to have to pay all these expenses. And so when you are signing these leases, you are going to have to realize that if you're signing a 3-year lease, you're locked in to these payments. You have to pay them or you're going to be evicted. You're going to be evicted. That's going to be on your credit. It's going to be bad. Now, here's your business model. You're built on other people's assets. Why not build a business on your own asset? Now, here's the great thing. Let's take back, there's more I'm going to talk about. I want to help you to understand how you can do the same thing, rental arbitrage, but actually own the asset, not do the same thing. Let me round it out. So imagine you got a property and you were going to furnish it out. You got to a landlord and said, hey, I'm going to pay you $1,500 a month. I'm going to furnish it and everything. I got to buy everything. And then I'm going to do Airbnb. Well, it's going to cost you maybe $2,000. $3,000 possibly, beds and couches and plates and all that's, tables, chairs. It's going to cost a lot of money. Even a refrigerator. Most times there's not a refrigerator. That's going to be $500 in itself. If it's going to be a really nice place, it's going to be $700, $800. So imagine $3,000 coming out of your pocket to rental arbitrage a property. That same example I showed you in the beginning where you buy a house that's an FHA loan, $3,500. That's only 3.5% down. If you buy a $100,000 house, that's only $3,500. So what you would normally pay for a rental arbitrage, you actually own an asset. You move in there, you live in it for a little while, you fix it up, and because you already have your furniture, you don't have that extra expense. Then you pull that stuff out and you put a tenant in there. Then you own that asset. Then if you want to do Airbnb, go ahead. You own that asset. You can absolutely do that. So that's what I'm saying is if you own the asset, you have so many more options. If you were having a rental arbitrage, you have so few options. It's literally just Airbnb and VRBO or nothing, and you are stuck. This business model is built on somebody else's foundation, somebody else's asset, when you can absolutely do this yourself. Another very, very big thing is you got to be ready for refunds. You got to be ready for refunds when something like a COVID-28 comes around and you have it booked out. Like you say, I have 20 properties. All 20 properties are booked out. Everything like we're living high on the hog. Economy's just booming. We're doing fantastic. People are traveling. I'm making so much money and I'm buying this. I'm spending that. I'm not buying assets. I'm just spending the money. What happens after something like this happens? People cancel on you, but they've already prepaid for, day 1, day 2, day 3, whatever it might be. They've already canceled. So you're looking at right now, even if we're in the middle of this 2 weeks of the pandemic, the shutdown of everything, the economy, they've shut down everything. And so that's not going to be just 2 weeks. It's going to last. Like people have canceled for months out. So if it's in March when it closed down, it's not going to pick up until June or July, possibly even August. Imagine floating those lease payments, those electrical payments, the utilities, and all of that for the entire 5 months. And not just floating that because people aren't coming in. On top of that, all the refunds that people are then needing back. You may have, hopefully, you haven't already spent that money. This is another downside of short-term rental properties. Hopefully, you've not already spent that money. If you have spent that money, oh my goodness, you're going to have to go into debt to give the money back to these people. So many big problems that I'm seeing with rental arbitrage, short-term rental properties. Here's my opinion. So I want you to get started investing in real estate rental properties, long-term properties. You own the asset. And so click the link below. I will give you my free course. So in the description, I will absolutely give you my free course. It's masterpassiveincome.com/free course. And on top of that, I also want to give you the opportunity to text it and get it as well. If you text the word rental to 33777, text the word rental to 33777, I will absolutely give you my free real estate investing course for free, 100% for free, getting you how to find properties, how to analyze deals, how to get the funding, how to make sure you manage it without you actually doing the work. It's an automatic business, having other people do the work. I will give you all that for free, either masterpassiveincome.com/free course or text the word rental to 33777. So what I'm telling you is that there are so many bad things about rental arbitrage, and the biggest one is you're going to be on the hook for these leases. Now, I know you're going to be on the hook for the mortgage, but you have long-term tenants. They are literally hunkered down. Like when they say, don't go anywhere, everybody, my tenants are fine. Or they stay in their houses that they're renting from me, so they can't go anywhere. If you have a rental property that's vacant, that's a long-term or a short-term, especially rental arbitrage, they're not coming into that property. They're staying in mine because they can't go anywhere. They're staying in mine. Yours is vacant and you're not making money. So with rental arbitrage, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to build a solid, long-lasting, foundational business that has assets. See, when I started investing in 2006, 2007, 2008, I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of ways not to do it, as well as a lot of ways to do it. And going through that recession, I saw, and here's the biggest thing, if you take anything away from this, buy assets and then make $250 or more in passive income every single month. And in my free course, I will absolutely show you how to do that. And so what you're going to do is you're going to buy the property. That's an asset for you. Get a long-term tenant in there that you make sure that the income and the expenses, that there's a difference there. And that's your passive income. That's $250. So if its expenses are $1,000, you're renting it for at least $1,250 and you're making that difference. See, the great thing about long-term rental properties and the way we do business at Master Passive Income is we know with a 99.9% certainty what the expenses are. We know with a 99.9% certainty of what the rents will be. We also know who's going to manage the properties because we set up the business first. We know all this. And so when somebody says, well, real estate's really, really risky, I'm here to tell you, I do everything else in my power. I'm not very, I don't like risk very much. But I have 30 plus properties now, and the properties I bought in 2006, 2007, and 2008 still make me money hand over fist all the time. I made at least $250 in 2006, 2007, and now 2020, 2021, 2022, I still make money every single month from my long-term tenants. So hopefully this has really given you a good perspective that rental arbitrage is a very rough way to do a business. I personally don't, because I love not working, not having to do a thing. Other people do the work for me and I still make money. I still make money every single month because my long-term tenants pay me money. And so if you are going to do short-term rental properties, what I would suggest is having that maybe be 10 or 20% of your entire portfolio of real estate. The rest of it should be long-term properties. Now, I'm going to say do not do rental arbitrage. You can absolutely do long-term assets on your own without doing rental arbitrage. You're just really setting yourself up for failure. And I'm really just scared for people who are doing rental arbitrage and people that are profiting from teaching rental arbitrage when their students are literally going to start losing money when the economy does turn south. So I really want you guys to realize that it's absolutely 100% possible for you to start investing in assets, income producing assets that make you $250 or more every single month, and having other people do the work. And I want to show you how to do that. And remember, text the word rental to 33777 or click a link in the description that says masterpassiveincome.com/free course. And I will get you that free course to get you started. And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777. RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching, get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.